Welcome to No Broken Legs, Browns Reaction Podcast. I am Evan Belfiore. Joining me on the phone is Jimmy Champ. Jimmy, rough loss for the Browns yesterday, but there's a lot of good things to take away from it. What's your immediate reaction?
My immediate reaction is the Browns should have every opportunity to play the Chiefs again in the playoffs. It sucks that after tonight the Browns are going to be alone in the bottom of the AFC North at 0-1. But with the exception of a few key plays, the Browns did everything right. I loved Kevin Stefanski's game plan. We've talked a lot about Joe Woods. I think they probably needed to let go of the soft cover too and probably pressure more and just try to play more man. I don't know if it would have worked, but at some point maybe you should have tried something different. But my first reaction is the Browns were the better team on the field for 75 to 80% of that game. So I'm mostly positive. There are just a few plays that stunk that they happened, but I have no problem with the Browns starting off the season with that game.
Yeah, and the big thing that I took away from the game was that's a game that Kansas City knows how to win because they've been playing that game for 3 years now, and they've had a season where everybody gave them their best shot after they won the Super Bowl. The Browns have played their 4 biggest games of the last 25 years in their last 4 games.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they beat Pittsburgh twice. That's a big hill to get over. Last year when they played Kansas City in the playoffs, Kansas City was the better team. Kansas City beat Cleveland. In this game, Cleveland beat themselves. Yes. This game was theirs for the taking. There's many reasons why they didn't come through. There were some they get rolling there early, and Harrison gets tossed early with just a really dumb reaction penalty. That really put a bad taste in my mouth right off the bat. The other thing that really stuck out was if the Browns are going to win games like this, they really need Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah.
Because we were texting during the game, and you heard Tony Romo was like, wow, they're running a lot of plays for Schwartz here, and the reason they were doing that is because those are OBJ plays.
Yeah.
And if Odell Beckham's in there instead of Schwartz, I think Odell Beckham comes down with that catch in the was that the third quarter?
No, I think that was in the fourth.
Yeah, I think
either third or fourth. Yeah,
I think Beckham comes down with that ball, and that keeps that drive going. Loved how Stefanski went for 2. Loved how he was going for it on 4th down. Can we calm down on the Joe Woods criticism? He's got basically an entirely new defense, and it was their first game against what everybody considers the best offense in the league. They held him to 10 points in the first half. They held him to 33 overall, which isn't really that bad, all things considered. And also, they had two short fields, and on one of those short fields, they held him to a field goal. So the defense got the big stop that they needed. The offense just put him in a bad spot twice and couldn't come through at the end there, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I know, I'm not trying to hammer Joe Woods. I just, at some point, I would have liked to have seen an in-game decision to go, well, if Kelsey and Hill are going to beat us anyway, let's just try to get to Mahomes. They're killing our soft zone, and they're still a couple times getting over the top. So let's just be aggressive and try to cover man up, see if maybe it makes a difference. I understand the game plan. He stuck to the game plan. It made sense. The Harrison ejection was actually a big deal because it really shortened his rotations, shortened his length in the secondary. And then Wills going out of the game is a big deal as well. I think that's a really big deal. We saw a sack given up, I believe, 2 possessions later after he went out.
Yeah, I think just another big moment in the game was the Browns got the ball back when they were up. I believe it was the drive that led to the Gilliam fumble when they came out and they came out passing and they got sacked, and it was 2nd and 13, so they had to throw again, and they had the little pass out into the flat to Hunt. Yep. Man, I really wanted him to come out running on that next drive because they had been running the ball so successfully. Chubb, 15 carries for 83 yards. Kareem Hunt, 6 carries for 33 yards. They were both averaging 5.5 yards per carry. In a game that you were ahead for most of the day, And even when they were doing the last comeback drive, they had plenty of time on the clock to keep running the ball. They got to get to 25, 30 carries for those guys, and I'm just disappointed they didn't find those 5 extra carries.
In the third quarter, the Chiefs' defense got a little better. The Chiefs got a little better at handling the run. But, I mean, offensively, it was great. And actually, even defensively, with a couple of the big plays they gave up, they still I think the Chiefs only averaged like 6.5 yards per play on the offense, which is a low number for the Chiefs. And the defense was okay. But this is one of the most premier offenses in the league. You're not going to play too many offenses that actually have Kelsey, Hill, and Mahomes to exploit the couple things that you don't have on defense. So I think that's a big deal. I agree with you. I would have liked to. I could understand if you came out and run the ball, but really, up until the 2 passes that ended drives late in the game, Baker Mayfield had been damn near perfect. And I understand Stefanski saying, okay, Baker, here you go, man. You've been great. I've called a good game plan. You found the guys that were open. You've had great touch on passes. You've had great zip on passes. Let's go throw the ball and win this game. But it would have been nice to see Odell in the game. I understand they just kind of put Schwartz in the Odell plays. I'm a Donovan Peoples-Jones fan. I would like to see him get more opportunity. He was on the field, didn't get a whole lot of targets. But I I think Odell makes that catch to Schwartz. And that would have been that continues that drive. You go down and score again there, the game may be over. Because I believe they were up 9 still on that drive, I believe. So they had opportunities, and that's a big deal. Like, they had every opportunity, and guys, don't freak out about the Nick Chubb fumble. I believe that was his 5th fumble of his career.
Yes, he's only had 5.
Yeah, so it happens.
And for Gilliam, the only fumble he's had in his career was on a fake punt, and that includes his time as a holder. So you have 2 guys that are normally sure-handed fumble. That really hurts, and people are trying to make a big deal about the interception Baker threw late. He's trying to throw that ball away, and he gets hit from behind. There's just nothing you can do there. They made a play. Congrats to them.
I don't know. Maybe you just try to throw it out of bounds, shorter downfield, but then maybe you get flagged for intentional grounding. I don't know. But he was trying to throw the ball away. It happened to get intercepted. Like, that was a bad break. Gilliam, the punt was the only play where it was frustrating, because that was the only play of the game all day where it really felt like the moment was too big for a Browns player. Because even though he fumbled the punt, even watching it in real time a few times now, it seems like he still had time to punt the ball. It might not have been a big boom, but he still probably could have got it down around midfield, which would have been at least a little better for the defense. As we talked, it was good to see late in the game. We got to see Clowney, and we got to see Myles Garrett heat up a little bit, so that was nice. Like, there were so many positives from this game. I can't take away any negatives. I don't understand the Baker criticisms in this game. Like, I don't get it. He threw great football after great football. A couple drops went right through guys' hands.
Well, that one pass he threw to Njoku when he did the kind of the long crossing route deep down the sideline, that throw was gorgeous.
That touch on that ball was absolutely perfect. And like you said, Hunt and Chubb were really good. And this is a premier offense and a defense. When they get close in a game, or when it's like we have to go get the quarterback and they can just attack, that's what they do well. So it played into their hands. But like I said, I think losing Jed was a really big deal. Losing Harrison early on was a really big deal. Like, I think those things, and then you had other players on the defensive back end come out with cramps. Like, there were a lot of issues, but the Browns were in this game all day. Like, there's no reason for me to watch that game and think the Browns do not belong in the top tier of the AFC. Now, truth be told, I did not watch any live action snaps of the Buffalo Bills Pittsburgh Steelers game. But from what I've listened to today,
I watched most of that game.
And from statistically, it appears the Browns are better than both of those teams.
Neither and we're not going to get into the rest of the week one games. We're going to keep this Browns centric, but I agree with you. The Browns are better than both of those teams. Buffalo looked completely out of sorts for almost the entirety of the game. And Pittsburgh, they looked pretty much the same. They got a little bit going there with Harris in the run game, and the offense looked really good. But what we talked about with the week one picks, or what I brought up, was the one-dimensional offenses against good defenses. And I think we saw a lot of that between the Browns and Kansas City. The Browns have a long way to go to reach another level defensively, but they were able to pin their ears back. They were able to make Patrick Mahomes uncomfortable. They were able to make tackles. And to see them play that well with 6 new starters, with Harrison getting ejected, that just bodes really well when we all think the defense is going to get better as the season goes on.
Right, and like we said, great players make great plays, right? Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce are great players. We know we still don't have a middle linebacker or even a safety that really matches up with Travis Kelce. Fortunately, there's only at most 2 Travis Kelces in the league, so you don't have that problem. And man, that the Hail Mary pass was just a great play by Patrick Mahomes. Great throw by Hill. I hate that Johnson took like 1.5 too many steps the other way, and he just couldn't get turned back around.
Well, it was a bit of a duck.
Yeah,
he got a ton on it, but it wasn't a nice tight spiral, and I think it drifted because both of them looked like they were running in one direction, and then they both had to come back and catch it, and Johnson was just a half step behind him. But I think that ball drifted as it was in the air.
Yeah, I agree, but I just think like the thing for me as a Browns fan going through, our youth coincided with one of the 2 best generations of Browns football. Like, granted, we were young, but our youth did coincide with the Bernie era in a team that was at least competitive. And then as we got older, like we've seen year in year and year and year of unprepared teams. Kevin Stefanski could not have had that team any more prepared. And I do think like Joe Wood's game plan was really good. Like it's exactly what you want to do to the Chiefs. Just try to keep it in front of you. Try to because Mahomes is going to throw footballs. You want to try to make him impatient and make him make a mistake. And it just didn't happen because Patrick Mahomes doesn't lose in September. Andy Reid's really great coming off of a bye starting the season. But the game plans were really good. Like that play at the end of the first half, that was executed too well for me to believe they have not ran that play in practice.
Oh, I think Romo was right. They probably run that every Friday. The thing I don't like about that is that Baker Mayfield is the one getting the pitch from Landry there. If that's Chubb or Hunt, that might have been a touchdown.
True, I agree, but I think it's supposed to go. I think it's supposed to go to Baker there because I think he's supposed to then reverse field with the ball. But he just thought he was going to get in the end zone, but Peoples-Jones wasn't able to make a good enough block in front of him.
Jones, I think, made a good enough block. It was Kansas City covered it well. They had guys running over there that could just get to the sideline before Baker could get to the edge.
Yeah, but I think in that play, I think Baker's supposed to throw it back earlier than he tried to do.
Yeah.
But it's just nice to see a Browns team prepared for apparently every moment. Like the play calls were really good. I agree. Chubb needs more carries, but Baker was playing so well, I understand Kevin saying, all right, let's go. Let's go ahead. Let's spread the field out. You find the right guy. Let's win this football game. Like, I get it. I agree with you. I would have much rather them lost the game by the Chiefs stopping Chubb and Hunt, but I understand why you made the decision you made because early on it did not look like the Chiefs could cover our guys, and it looked like Baker was just going to continue to put the ball in the right spot. Like I said, he couldn't have thrown a better ball than Schwartz dropped. And I agree with you, OBJ most likely makes that catch. That's what he's there for. And then you also have to, if OBJ's out there, it's also going to force the other team to really think about that pressure.
Yeah, not just that, but that takes away another defender in the secondary, which should open things up for everybody else. Like Landry, most of his yards came on that first half flea flicker. Yep. He did have the touchdown, but other than that, he was pretty much held in check.
Yep. So, it's something we talk about. I still think Austin Hooper needs way more targets, way more opportunity, but Chief David Njoku looked pretty good in this one. You know, Jackson on the defensive line looked really good. We've talked about it. Linebacker is going to be probably the problem spot on the defense. And there were times Mac Wilson got targeted. JOK made a couple plays, couple times he looked like he wasn't sure where he was supposed to be. There were a couple times where Travis Kelce caught balls where it didn't look like anybody in the zone knew who was supposed to check to him. So that's a problem, but I expect Joe Woods to clean that up. But all in all, this was a great first week. I can't wait for next week, right? Because we played a premier team who we knew, like we talked about it. This Chiefs team was going to be hungry. Like,
the Chiefs gave them their best shot. That's the Chiefs' best shot, and the Browns stood toe to toe with them.
Yeah, exactly. Like the Chiefs, man, they did what they had to do to win the game, and that's what you're supposed to do. But the Chiefs were hungry for this game. They wanted to show everybody we are better than the team that you saw in the AFC Championship game and the Super Bowl. Like, we're a better team than that. So they came out and did what they had to do. Now, next week we get the Texans, who we've talked about. The Texans aren't as bad as a lot of the national criticism, national media wants
they
them
are.
to be.
Yeah,
no,
they are.
They're not.
The Jaguars are a mess.
No,
they stink. They looked just as disjointed as I expected them to look. It's going to be a long season for Urban Meyer and the boys. And you know what? Do you know this is the number that people should think about for Cleveland Browns fans that are freaking out about the loss yesterday? Do you know what the line is for the Texans game? 12 and a half.
Yeah.
Do you know what percentage of the money line bets so far are on the Browns at minus 625? 100%.
Yeah, but listen, like
the Texans aren't good. That is a fool's gold win over a bad team, Jimmy. I know you and Kelly loves the Texans. You don't want to bash them, but they're terrible.
No, let me finish my talk, dude. Okay, the Texans are not as bad as they've been beat up to be because they have a lot of veteran players. But they're going to get smacked in the face by the Cleveland Browns next week. And that's going to right the ship for the Browns. Everybody's going to calm down when the Browns defense is not playing the Chiefs, when they're playing a defense that can't pressure the way the Chiefs can. It's going to right everything because it amazed me how much talk there was that this game somehow proved that the Baker Mayfield experiment isn't working. That was a horrible interception. Like, I don't get that, but it'll be nice next week. Like, I'm glad the Texans won in week 1. So when the Browns smack them next week, it won't be like, well, we knew the Texans were the worst team in the NFL. When we knew, after what we saw in the preseason, the Jaguars are probably the worst team in the NFL. So
maybe Detroit.
Well, yeah, I mean, they were up until the 2-minute mark.
So far behind in that game.
Yeah.
That's why they came back. But Detroit got pummeled.
Yeah, that up until the 2-minute mark, they were pretty god-awful in that game. But I just don't understand. And it's something that you kind of touched on a little bit off air. It amazes us how so many Browns fans were so patient and
would make every single fucking excuse for why they were terrible instead of just the obvious, which was they were terrible.
Right. And then they just want to beat on this team that is going to be really good. Like, I mean, it sucks the Browns lost. We're both happy. We both had them at plus 5.5. We were pretty sure they were at least a field goal as good as the Chiefs. So 5.5 to us felt like stealing. Wish the money line would have hit 2, but I'm super happy at the plus 5.5. And I think there were probably a lot of people watching that game that were really happy Baker Mayfield threw an interception at the end, because then they were able to say, oh, same old Browns. Because all the statistics, all the everything that people point to about the Browns this and the Browns that, this is not the same Browns. They should change the fucking name, because it's not the same Browns. This is a completely different mindset, organization, roster structure, everything. And up until that interception, you couldn't say, oh, same old Browns. Like, so I'm
Are
just super excited.
you expecting coastal media to actually pay attention and give a Midwestern team a break? Because that's just not going to happen with the Browns. I mean, the first half of the game, the Browns were dominating, and Romo and Nance are just gushing and slobbering all over Kansas City to the point that I muted the television.
Yeah, no, I mean that's what it's gonna be with. That's what it's gonna be when you're playing the Chiefs. I think the Browns are going to force coastal media to pay attention to them because they have so many winnable games on their schedule, and I think they're going to beat some teams by pretty wide margins. I think they're going to have games where their defense is absolutely dominant. And I think there are a lot of defenses in the NFL that are not going to have an answer for Chubb and Hunt and aren't going to be able to take the Browns out of game script to where if they want to run the ball 50 times, they probably can. So coastal media is going to have to recognize the Cleveland Browns as a good team this year. There's not going to be any way around it. And I'm so excited for this season. Like, this team is built to win a lot of games. They're built for a playoff run. And if there's one thing I can be like, well, okay, if we play the Chiefs again, do I expect Nick Chubb and our punter to fumble balls? No, because neither one of them do that. It sucked that it happened, but they're not mistakes that happen a lot. And one thing that I do want to give credit to both teams. It was a pretty well paced game. Not a lot of penalties on either side of the ball. All that stuff with Harrison, like, it sucked because he was trying to get out of the way, couldn't get out of the way, so it didn't look Sue-like when he stepped on the running back.
The offensive lineman ran up as he was trying to walk away, and then the lineman was there, and that caused him to not, like, he couldn't keep going forward, so then he had to put his foot down to keep his balance. I don't think he was kicking him. And I think it's also absurd that he got tossed and that coach didn't. Why is a coach putting his hands on a player?
Exactly. So, like I said, it wasn't Sue-like. He just had to put his foot somewhere, and unfortunately, the only place he could put it was on that player to catch his bounce. And I agree with you. The thing that made it worse to me was they called the penalty on the Chiefs bench, then decided to look at it again, and then eject the Browns player, and the Chiefs coach gets to stay on the sideline. Like, I don't understand how that happens. It has to be both ways. Like, if the player's not allowed to touch the coach shouldn't be allowed to touch the player. Like, I don't get that. Like, that was weird, but that was really the only part of the game that was, like, mucky from a penalty standpoint. Like, both teams played clean, played crisp. Both these teams are going to win a ton of games, as we projected. We said this was probably one of the Browns' losses on their schedule. We also said if the Browns play a close game, the city should be really happy. The fan base should be really happy. But a lot of the fan base isn't. And I don't know. I don't get that. Like, that's weird.
Oh, I get it. It's really simple. They just want to bitch. That's it. They just want to bitch. They can't enjoy and see how far this team has come from just 2 years ago with Freddie Kitchens and the shit show that they were. And it just annoys the shit out of me watching dumb Cleveland Browns fans get so much run. They're dumb, and we shouldn't listen to them.
Fair enough. No arguments there. But I'm super excited. As we've talked, the first game was going to be rough, but we've got some spots on the schedule coming up where this team will be able to showcase how dominant they are and that they are a true powerhouse in the AFC. So the rest of this month in October is going to be a great month, going to be a great run for Cleveland Browns football. I cannot wait to see what happens. I do hope Odell gets in the game next week. I hope Jed's okay. I haven't seen any reports this morning. I know he was active on social media in the second half of the game, so he must not have been too beat up because he had his phone somewhere. So I hope Wills is okay. I hope there's not any kind of suspension coming from Harrison. There shouldn't be. So everybody should be back. Now you've played a game. Now you don't have this kind of offense. You don't have to play an offense like this for a while. This is going to be a great start to the Browns season. This Browns team is going to be really good, and they have, especially with the injuries in Baltimore, they have a great opportunity to win the AFC North this year.
The Akron Beacon Journal just reported, not even 10 minutes ago, Kevin Stefanski on the Monday Zoom call said that Willis is day-to-day, which is really great news.
Yeah, that's best case, right? That's awesome.
Yeah, and the other thing just to wrap up is if you're a Chiefs fan and you look at the rest of the AFC, you look at the Bills, if you want to throw Pittsburgh in there after their win, fine, the Ravens, is that like Cleveland is the team that they're not going to want to see in the playoffs because they think they own everybody else, and they may think they own Cleveland for the time being, but that scared Chiefs fans, that scared the Chiefs. They know it took their best shot to beat the Browns and that the Browns can still get better.
I give Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill all the credit in the world for that Hail Mary play. But I agree with you. That ball didn't go where Patrick Mahomes was trying to put it. Had it kept going the way he wanted it to, Johnson was in great position to break it up or intercept it. Because Hill wanted to keep running towards the corner, but it didn't get there. He broke off and made a great play. But the thing that's got to be rough for the Chiefs as a team, and I'm sure it's something Andrew's going to talk about, like, if those two fumbles don't happen, the Browns most likely win that football game.
When the Chubb fumble happened, they were just rolling on offense.
Yeah, and it wasn't like a great peanut punch on the Chubb fumble. He just happened to fumble the ball. No,
it looked like the defender got his helmet on the ball.
Yeah, it was a helmet on the ball, which doesn't happen like that often. Like, the Chiefs, the Browns beat the Browns. The Chiefs didn't beat the Browns.
Yeah, and the Chiefs made the 3 plays they had to make to win the game.
Yeah. Yeah, but they did not dominate. You could say the sack. Well, I will say that sack was huge there late in the fourth. Like, that was a great sack. But this is the Chiefs are a premier team in the NFL, and the Browns just stood toe to toe with them, took their best shot, had every chance to win. Like I said, man, I'm super excited for this Brown season to come. There's nothing but growth. Like I said, you could argue one of our 3 most skilled offensive players wasn't even in the game. Defensively, we had some loss, and we know the defensive players that were out there on the field had not played together at all as a unit in the preseason. So now you know what to look for, and as we've stated, they're not going to have to face another offense like this for a while. There aren't a lot of teams that can do to that defense what Kansas City can. So everybody calm down. We're going to be okay. We're going to go on a little run here. The Browns are going to be good. They're going to be really good. The AFC North is absolutely theirs for the taking. Let's just relax and let's go get it, right? Let's support this team because they're actually a team worth supporting. So let's support them and let's have fun watching them win a bunch of games.
All right, well, that'll wrap up everything we have for this. We'll have more on the Browns when we do the preview for the Texans later this week. Jimmy, thank you for joining me on this Monday afternoon.
Man, no place I'd rather be except with the Browns W, but that's all right. We got a lot of W's coming. Everybody enjoy the week. We'll kick butt next week.
All right, for Jimmy Champ, I am Evan Belfiore. Thank you for listening to No Broken Legs.
Every action has a repercussion. Lyrical bullets don't make me get the bussin'.